Shabbat Shalom, everyone. I wish we could be gathering and discussing this week's Torah portion together in person. But since that is not the case, I thought at least I'd reach out virtually and share some Torah with you, perhaps some ways to contemplate, reflect, and ruminate on this week's Torah portion. You can sit and listen or add to the comments on this video and participate in the conversation that way, and we'll figure out how this evolves, as long as we need to do this, how we can do it in an engaging and meaningful way. Before we begin Torah, let's begin with our blessing. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shehechianu, not that one. Asher kichanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. Blessed are you, the source of life, in whose spirit we are commanded to engage with these words of Torah. So I'm going to give you 3 Torah-related exercises, if you will. You can do each at a time and stop and listen and think and react. You can jump over 1, 2, or 3. They aren't necessarily sequential, but just give some different ways to think about and consider and engage with the text and with one another. So number 1, I'll call sacred imagination, not a new practice, but an ancient one. And I want to read you an excerpt from this week's portion from Kitisa. And ask you just sit and listen and imagine yourself within it. Put yourself in the places of one of the characters or moments of it. And imagine what that you might be thinking or feeling within it. We are in Kitisa. We're from the part of our story where our ancestors are anxiously awaiting Moses' return from atop the mountain so he can tell them more of God, what God wants from them. And he's taking a little time, and they get anxious. So, for sacred imagination, listen and imagine. When the people saw that Moses was so long in coming down from the mountain, the people gathered against Aaron and said to him, "Come, make us a god who shall go before us, for that man Moses who brought us from the land of Egypt, we don't know what has happened to him." Aaron said to them, "Take off the gold rings that are on the ears of your wives, your sons, and your daughters, and bring them to me." And all the people took off the gold rings that were in their ears and brought them to Aaron. Then he took from them and cast in a mold and made them into a molten calf. And they exclaimed, "This is your God, O Israel, who brought you out of the land of Egypt." When Aaron saw this, he built an altar before it, and Aaron announced, "Tomorrow shall be a festival of the Eternal One." So where were you in that moment? Who were you? Were you Aaron? Were you an Israelite? One who was complaining and waiting? One who put their gold into the molting pot? Or were you somewhere else? What did you feel? Were you scared? Were you anxious? Were you worried? Were you excited? Take a moment to think, and if you like, add to the comments on this video. Exercise number 2. You can follow the link that was in my email, or I hope at the bottom of this video, to the page that offers the text I just read, and also some insight or some explanation or interpretation of what was Aaron thinking. You may feel like I do that we are in a moment in our world where we need leadership. We have to figure out what kind of leaders we need or want to follow. And we wonder what Aaron was doing and thinking in this moment. So what I've chosen and pulled is that text that I just read, but also 3 different interpretations of what was going on. What was Aaron doing in that moment? What kind of leadership or lack thereof was he exhibiting? So for the second exercise, I invite you just to read over each of those 3. And first of all, which one do you think Aaron was exhibiting? What was going on? And then perhaps as a follow-up, what is it that the type of leadership that you would look for or respond to in a moment like this one? Exercise number 3, building on that last question I asked a moment ago, I ask it again. Let's take our text from its ancient context and its story and what was happening within its confines to our world. We are in a moment that we crave leadership. We need leaders. And so I ask you, what kind of leader are you ready to step up and be? How will you lead in this moment? Or who's out there leading that you want to follow, that you want to model? The moment the Israelites faced was one of isolation and worry and unknown. Feels quite similar. Healthy leadership can be a key to knowing how to live and move on from those moments. So, what will you give in this moment? What kind of leadership does it demand from you, from others? Again, feel free to reflect on your own or share on the common stream. And hopefully these are opportunities for you to engage with the text and us with one another. We'll work and figure out how to do this as we grow into this crisis. But for the moment, I hope these words of Torah are sweet to you. You have a Shabbat Shalom, a great day, a meaningful and a healthy week. Shabbat Shalom.